morning, Lynn.
Hey, happy Monday, Annette.
Happy Monday right back at you. Today, I thought we would have a short discussion on what it means to be a fiduciary.
I think that's a good idea. It's really not necessarily understood by the lay public, and unfortunately, not always understood by the agents in the field.
And it's part of the real estate exam, and it really is central to how we interact with our clients. It's as
Correct.
simple as that. And there are about a half a dozen characteristics of being a fiduciary, or duties. And the first one is care. What does that mean to you?
Well, as a fiduciary, I must take reasonable care to make sure I protect my client. I protect their money. I protect their negotiating interests.
And I think it also means that we do our job properly.
Amen.
Okay. The second consideration is obedience.
Now, that one's a tough one. None of us like to think that as adults we have to obey, and yet we obey laws all the time.
Mhm.
And in this case, the law says we must take lawful instruction from all of our clients. So the key word there is lawful. If you asked me and you were my client to rob a bank, I would respectfully say no. In the same way that if you asked me to break fair housing laws and limit who could see your property, I would say no. However, in most cases, I am to take reasonable and lawful instruction from you, my client.
And I think it's incumbent upon the agent to ask the question so that they get the reasonable and lawful instruction. For example, should we let other agents know of other offers? And again, it's a decision that the client makes, not us.
Correct.
Again, it's up to us not to say, oh, you should do this or you should do that, but to explain the ramifications of that decision.
Exactly. And sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's not. So
But-
we have to be savvy enough to explain them again in the moment if needed.
Okay. The third attribute is loyalty. What does that mean to you?
Well, again, I think it goes to protection of our clients' interests. And it's very, very easy just with a stupid slip of the tongue to be disloyal to your client. And let me give you an example. You're playing in a foursome on the golf course, and you make an offhanded remark about the fact that your clients are getting divorced and they really need to sell the house you're listing. That's a huge display of disloyalty because that dampens their negotiating power.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those, it's just so easy to screw this up that you really need to be thinking about where your loyalties are with every word that comes out of your mouth.
Exactly. The next attribute is disclosure.
By agents and frankly, by clients.
Mhm.
Okay, we are mandated by law to disclose known important defects in any property that could affect a person's decision when considering buying a property.
Mhm.
Period. Can't hide the facts. And conversely, clients are required to let agents know about such defects.
But I think it goes even beyond that. That's very important.
What
It
else?
also has to do with who are you working for or with. If you're selling a house that you own or a family member owns, you have to disclose it.
Right. So there's a certain amount of transparency mandated by law.
Mhm. And also, if you're representing both sides of a transaction.
Oh, dual agency. That's a topic for another Monday. You
We're not
know,
gonna- we're not going to talk about that today.
Not
But
going there today.
I I've not had clients say, don't tell anybody about this, but that's because I tell them I'm going to say it anyway, I think.
Right. Well, you know what's interesting? You and I have been blessed with being very well trained. And we tell clients as soon as we meet them, before they've hired us, to please refrain from sharing any personal, confidential, or financial information with us until we have been hired.
Exactly. And it's because of that.
Right.
Because of that. Okay, the next attribute is accounting.
Where's the money? Follow the money. Be responsible for the money. That's as simple as running to your broker with a deposit check
Immediately.
And not letting it sit in your notebook until after the inspection or till when you get around to it. It doesn't protect your client. You must account for that money immediately.
It's interesting when you look at the sanctions given by the board, you know, the state agency that
Yes.
regulates it, the vast majority have to do with mishandling of funds.
Yes.
Which is sad, but it's true. And so that's it.
So as a client in the field, as a buyer or a seller, you really want to ask, when are you getting this check into the bank? As a buyer, you're frankly not protected. The sale isn't yours until your check is delivered. And as a seller, if the deal goes south, you have no leverage without that money having cleared the bank.
Absolutely.
So it's really important, really, really important. And I think we see that it's not handled well many, many times.
It's one of the banes of my existence as broker
As a broker.
because I'm on the line for that. So we
Exactly.
take very good care of that.
Amen.
Okay. The sixth and last attribute is confidentiality.
And we've talked a little about that because all of these overlap so much. But your client's personal circumstances, including their motivation for selling their property or frankly for buying a new property, are no one else's business. Sharing that personal information, not keeping it confidential, damages your client's ability to negotiate fairly.
And this is one that I find a lot of agents either really don't understand or, I don't know, I was showing a condo in Newton once, and I said to the other agent, why are they selling? She said, oh, they bought another place. They don't want to have two mortgages, which indicated to me that they wanted to move quickly and they would take almost any offer rather than necessarily waiting for a higher one. And exactly. As you said earlier, she really undercut her client's ability to negotiate with that.
Exactly. What's interesting is that when you and I teach our negotiation clinic to agents all across the state, this is something that comes up frequently. And frankly, we train agents to ask probing questions, assuming that most of the brokerage community doesn't understand confidentiality and that you can gain an edge for your client.
Yep.
That's a sad truth, isn't it?
Okay, let's not bash the agents. I've asked why are they
We've had some very, very good ones lately, haven't we?
Absolutely. Why are they moving? Because they want to live someplace else, which tells
That's
me
exactly
absolutely
right.
nothing.
Why are they selling? Because they're moving.
This has been you really know your stuff is all I'm going to say. But it's really important for both our buyers and our sellers to understand the standard to which we are held.
And that they can expect us to be held.
Thank you very much. Have a great week, Lynn.
You too. Bye.